So good morning to all. In the previous class, we have discussed. The general controls exercised by Parliament. That is, we have discussed the question hour, the 0 hour, the adjournment motion, no confidence motion, censure motion. So that is calling attention motion. So we have discussed different instruments used or available for Parliament to exercise control over the government. Not only exercising control over the government, but also to ensure accountability and answerability of the government. Right? The same time, so we have discussed about all the instruments of general control exercised by Parliament, and we started a discussion on the financial control, and as a part of it we started a discussion on budget. All right, that is, we started a discussion on procedure for passing the budget, right? So in today's class, let me start from the topic of passing of budget, right? So that is budget, which is mentioned as annual financial statement in Article 112. So budget is mentioned as annual financial statement. It is annual financial statement, right, which is mentioned in Article 112 of the Constitution. Right. So if you take this passing of budget, as I said, budgets are introduced only in Lok Sabha. And that too on the prior recommendation of President of India. Right. So the introduction of budget requires prior permission of President of India or prior recommendation of President of India. All right. Second, there will be a general discussion. On the budget, right? So though budgets are introduced in Lok Sabha, though budget is introduced only in Lok Sabha, remember, these budgets can be they are discussed both in Lok Sabha as well as Rajya Sabha. The only role of Rajya Sabha is to have a general discussion. Right? So Rajya Sabha is allowed to have a general discussion on budget. All right? So this is the role of Rajya Sabha. Except general discussion, right? There is no other role. There is no other role for Rajya Sabha except general discussion. Right? There is no other role. There is no other role for Rajya Sabha. Right? So remember this point, and this is very important for exam. Right? So normally, previously questions have asked on this point. Right? The role of Rajya Sabha with respect to budget is general discussion. After general discussion, it is a detailed discussion. There will be a detailed discussion on the budget. So this detailed discussion will take place based upon the report of departmental standing committees. Based upon the report of departmental standing committees. Alright. So standing committees, right? Standing committees provides annual reports. Standing committees provides annual report on the working of different ministries, right? Standing committees provides annual reports. So based upon the annual reports on these different ministries and departments, there will be a detailed discussion and voting of demands, right? So after detailed discussion, there will be voting of demands, right? So every demand is put for discussion. There will be debates, there will be discussions, there will be questions raised, right? And if required, the members of the parliament, the members of Lok Sabha can propose cut motions. The members of Lok Sabha can propose cut motions. All right. So cut motions are introduced. During the stage of voting of demands. Cut motions are introduced during the stage of voting of demands. So it is during this stage. Right? The cut motions are allowed. The cut motions are introduced. All right. So remember, first of all, whether my voice is clear to you. Whether my voice is clear to you. Whether my voice is clear to you? Okay, good. Right? So, cut motions are introduced during the stage of voting of demands. So, there are three types of cut motions. One is policy cut motion. Second one is economy cut motion. Right? Economy cut motion. And third one is token cut motion. Right? So these are the three types of cut motions that are available. These are three types of cut motions that can be introduced. During the stage of voting of demands. All right. So if you take policy cut motion, right? So in this policy cut motion, the primary purpose of policy cut motion is to disapprove the policy behind the expenditure. Right? It is disapproving. Right? The primary purpose of policy cut motion. Is to disapprove. It is to Praveen 130 call 130 call. Right? So if you take this, the purpose of this policy cut motion is to disapprove the policy behind the expenditure. That means the members of parliament can question the policy adopted by the government for expenditure. Right? So normally government has its own policy. Right? Every government has right, a basic policy behind every expenditure, right. So let me give one simple example. So policy towards promoting investments, policy towards promoting investments, right. So how to promote investments, how to pool investments, right. There are different ways of pooling the investments, right. There are different means of pooling the investments, right. So if you take this pooling investments, so one is, I'm just giving the examples, all right. So pooling, how to pool investments. So you can increase the internal sources, all right, that is by increasing savings, So how and when there can be increased savings? When taxes are reduced, basically when there is reduction in the taxes. When taxes are reduced, the ultimate impact of this reduction of taxes will be the impact of reduction in taxes. The impact of reduction in taxes will be on savings, all right. So these savings they in turn can be used as investments. This is one way of increasing the investments, all right. So increasing the income of the individuals, right, that is increasing the private income. When there is increase in income, automatically a part of the income will be used for investments. This is one thing, all right. So on one hand you can increase savings, on the other hand, all right, you can increase income levels, all right, by giving different types of benefits, by giving different kinds of what you call exemptions, or by increasing the literally increasing the levels of income, all right. Then FDIs, FIIs, right. So direct investments, institutional investments, and today we have different types of alternative investments, all right. So we have angel investors, right, రకరకాల ఇన్వెస్టింగ్ ఆప్షన్స్ ఉన్నాయి. అది గవర్నమెంట్ ఇష్టం. ఇప్పుడు గవర్నమెంట్ ఏ పాలసీ ఫాలో కావాలి, గవర్నమెంట్ విల్ టేక్ ఇట్స్ ఓన్ స్టాండ్. గవర్నమెంట్ తనకంటూ ఒక పాలసీ ఉంటుంది, ఇట్ విల్ ఫాలో ఇట్. సమ్ టైమ్స్ ది గవర్నమెంట్ మే వాట్ యు కాల్ లిబరలైజ్ FDIs అండ్ FIIs. సమ్ టైమ్స్ గవర్నమెంట్ గివ్ మోర్ ఇంపార్టెన్స్ టు FDIs వెన్ కంపేర్ టు FIIs. అది గవర్నమెంట్ ఇష్టం. FDIస్కి ఇంపార్టెన్స్ ఇవ్వాలా, FIIస్కి ఇంపార్టెన్స్ ఇవ్వాలా, డొమెస్టిక్ ఇన్వెస్ట్మెంట్స్కి ఇంపార్టెన్స్ ఇవ్వాలా, ఫారెన్ ఇన్వెస్ట్మెంట్స్కి ఇంపార్టెన్స్ ఇవ్వాలన్నది గవర్నమెంట్ ఇష్టం, రైట్. అల్టిమేట్ గోల్ ఏంటిదంటే ఇన్వెస్ట్మెంట్స్ పెంచాలి. ఎలా పెంచాలి అన్నది ఇట్ ఈస్ డిపెండెంట్ ఆన్ ది గవర్నమెంట్. రైట్. So this is what will take place. So this is what about the different options. Government may choose one of the option. All right. Think that. Let me give one example. Think that the government has thought of increasing savings and government has reduced the taxes. Taxes తగ్గించి సేవింగ్స్ పెంచాలన్న ఆప్షన్ని గవర్నమెంట్ చూస్ చేస్తుంది అనుకుందాం, రైట్. అండ్ గవర్నమెంట్ ఎక్స్పెక్టెడ్ దట్ the saving rates will be around 35% or it is 40%, all right. But in actual practice, if the savings are not up to the mark, if savings are not up to the expected levels, automatically the investments will come down. ఇప్పుడు ఈ గవర్నమెంట్ తీసుకున్న మెజర్ని, గవర్నమెంట్ తీసుకున్న అడాప్ట్ చేసుకున్న పాలసీని ఎవరు క్వశ్చన్ చేయాలి, రైట్. హూ విల్ క్వశ్చన్ this policy of the government? Who will question the policy adopted by government? It is the members of parliament, right. So the members of parliament has every opportunity. The members of parliament have every right opportunity to question the policy adopted by the government, All right. So the underlying what you call crux of this policy cut motion, the underlying crux of this policy cut motion is to disapprove the policy behind the expenditure. That is disapproving the policy adopted by government. So members of parliament have every right to question the what you call policy adopted, and if they are not satisfied, they can move a resolution disapproving the policy. Alright. So this is what about policy cut motion. So technically saying that the purpose of policy cut motion is to reduce the expenditure by rupees 100. Alright. So reducing the expenditure by rupees 100. So this is what the technical meaning are of policy cut motion. But instead of going by these words, remember the general meaning. That is, the general meaning or the simple meaning of policy cut motion is disapproving the policy behind the expenditure. Right. So am I clear about this policy cut motion? Am I clear about the policy cut motion? Am I clear about policy cut motion? Okay then. Alright. So మీరు రెస్పాన్స్ ఇవ్వాలి, లేకపోతే చాలా కష్టం అవుద్ది. Then coming to economy cut motion. If you take economy cut motion, the purpose of this economy cut motion, the purpose of economy cut motion, the purpose of economy cut motion is to, the purpose of economy cut motion is to reduce the expenditure. It is to reduce the expenditure by any amount, right? It is reducing the expenditure by any amount so as to achieve economy. What do you mean by economy? What do you mean by economy? Economy in the expenditure. Economy అంటే అర్థం ఏంటిది? What do you mean by economy in the expenditure? Economy simply means following the least cost principle. It is following of least cost principle. Alright, that is what economy in the expenditure means. It is least cost. It is following the least cost principle. That is reducing the expenditure as much as possible. Reducing the expenditure as much as possible by any amount. Alright, say I'll give one simple example. I'll give one simple example to make you understand this point. Alright, say you want to purchase a pen. You want to purchase a pen. Pen can be a cost of 100 rupees. It can be a cost of 50 rupees. It can be a cost of 30. It can be a cost of 10, 5 and even 3 rupees. So in the market, alright, you have pens of different costs. Alright, now what is the principle that you follow in purchasing a pen? So normally we always think about the primary principle is the least cost principle. Right, the primary principle is, it is least cost principle. ఎప్పుడైనా గుర్తుపెట్టుకోండి మనం. రైట్, మనం ఫాలో అయ్యే ప్రిన్సిపల్ ఏంటిది? మనం ఫాలో కావాల్సిన ప్రిన్సిపల్ ఏంటిది? ఇట్ ఈస్ ద లీస్ట్ కాస్ట్ ప్రిన్సిపల్. ఇట్ ఈస్ ది లీస్ట్ కాస్ట్ ప్రిన్సిపల్ అంటే తక్కువ ఖర్చు. రైట్, మ్యాక్సిమం టు మ్యాక్సిమం మనం ఖర్చు తగ్గించుకోవడం. రైట్, తక్కువ ఖర్చు. ఇక్కడ ఏంటిది, మనకు కొనుక్కోవడానికి 100 రూపీస్ పెన్ ఉంది, 30 రూపీస్ పెన్ ఉంది, 5 రూపీస్ పెన్ ఉంది, 3 రూపీస్ పెన్ ఉంది కదా. సో అంటే అర్థం ఏంటిది, మనం వీలైనంత వరకు ఖర్చు తగ్గించుకునే ఛాన్స్ ఉంది. 50 రూపీస్ పెన్ కొనుక్కోవచ్చు, 20 రూపీస్ పెన్ కొనుక్కోవచ్చు, 3 రూపీస్ పెన్ కొనుక్కోవచ్చు. రైట్, సో డిపెండింగ్ అపాన్ యువర్ ఎకనామిక్ పొజిషన్, right, depending upon your economic position, you can follow the least cost principle. Right, so what is the least cost here in our example? What is the least cost in our example? What is the least cost in our example? మన ఎగ్జాంపుల్లో లీస్ట్ కాస్ట్ ఏంటిది? 30 రూపీసా, 10 రూపీసా, 5 రూపీసా, 3 రూపీసా? రైట్. సో మనం 3 రూపీస్ పెన్ కొనుక్కోవచ్చు, 5 రూపీస్ పెన్ కొనుక్కోవచ్చు. అంటే అనవసరమైన ఖర్చు పెట్టకూడదు, అనవసరంగా డబ్బులు వేస్ట్ చేయకూడదు. రైట్. సో గవర్నమెంట్ మే ప్రపోజ్ ఎనీ అమౌంట్ ఆఫ్ ఎక్స్పెండిచర్, గవర్నమెంట్ మే ప్రపోజ్ ఎనీ అమౌంట్ ఆఫ్ ఎక్స్పెండిచర్. Right. So it is up to the government, but as a people's representatives, right, as a legislature, what the parliament should do, what parliament should do, right? Parliament has every responsibility, parliament has every right to reduce the expenditure, because parliament has a duty to act as watchdog of public purse. Parliament has a duty of acting as a watchdog of public purse. So we have Public Accounts Committee, we have PAC, గుర్తుపెట్టుకోండి, we have PAC, CAG, Controller General, Controller and Auditor General. Right. So every discussion on budget, goes on the report. Right. It will be done based upon the report of what you call PAC and CAG. So PAC, the report of Public Accounts Committee, as well as the report of Controller and Auditor General, they have an enormous influence. They have an influence on making of budget or on passing of budget. ఇంతకుముందు మీకు చెప్పిన డిపార్ట్మెంటల్ స్టాండింగ్ కమిటీస్ అని. సో డిపార్ట్మెంటల్ స్టాండింగ్ కమిటీస్ వాళ్ళు చేసే పని ఏంటిది? రైట్. దే విల్ చెక్ ది ఎకనామిక్ పర్ఫార్మెన్స్ ఆఫ్ ఈచ్ అండ్ ఎవ్రీ మినిస్ట్రీ. దే విల్ చెక్ economic performance of each and every ministry, and based upon the criticisms, based upon the report of PAC and CAG, the departmental standing committees, they will review the performance of the departments, they will review the budget proposals based upon the reports given by PAC and CAG. So CAG ఇచ్చిన రిపోర్టు, PAC ఇచ్చిన రిపోర్టు, ఇవన్నిటిని దృష్టిలో పెట్టుకొని యాన్యువల్ రిపోర్ట్స్ అంటే డిపార్ట్మెంటల్ స్టాండింగ్ కమిటీస్ అనేవి రివ్యూ చేస్తాయి. సో వాళ్ళ డిపార్ట్మెంటల్ కమిటీ ఇచ్చిన రిపోర్ట్ ప్రకారము బడ్జెట్ పాస్ అవుతుంది. బాగా గుర్తుపెట్టుకోండి, హౌ దే ఆర్ ఇంటర్రిలేటెడ్, హౌ ఈచ్ ఇన్స్టిట్యూషన్ ఈజ్ ఇంటర్రిలేటెడ్. రైట్. సో ఐ విల్ గివ్ దిస్ ఇంటర్రిలేషన్. సో వీ హ్యావ్ PAC, రైట్, వీ హ్యావ్ CAG. సో CAG report is used by PAC. PAC report is used by departmental standing committees. Alright, departmental standing committees. So these departmental standing committees, they submit the annual report to the parliament, and this report is the basis for passing of budget. This report is the basis for passing of budget. Alright. So this is how the budget comes. The entire discussion on budget takes place. The entire discussion on budget takes place based upon this. The entire discussion on budget takes place based upon CAG, PAC. Alright. Because alright, they have a duty. PAC and CAG have a constitutional responsibility of protecting public purse. They act as watchdog of public purse. So unnecessarily public money should not be wasted. Unnecessarily the public money should not be spent. Right. అనవసరమైన ఖర్చు చేయకూడదు, అనవసరంగా పబ్లిక్ మనీ వేస్ట్ చేయకూడదు. అలా వేస్ట్ చేయకుండా చూడాల్సిన బాధ్యత ఎవరిది? పార్లమెంట్ది. రైట్. దట్ ఈస్ ద రీజన్ వై Parliament uses these cut motions. Cut motions are the most important instruments in the hand of Parliament to exercise financial control. Budget is an instrument of control అని చెప్తున్నాం. We are saying that budget is an instrument of control. So in this budget, which stage of budget really exercises control? Which stage, right, in the passing of budget exercises control? It is this stage of voting of demands. It is during this stage of voting of demands, right, cut motions are introduced. So cut motions are meant to regulate the expenditures. Cut motions are meant to cut down the unwanted expenditure. A పేరులోనే ఉంది కట్ అని. Right, it is cutting down the unwanted expenditure. It is cutting down, reduction in the unwanted expenditure. Am I clear to you? Am I clear to you about this economic cut motion? Alright, economic cut motion means the purpose of this economic cut motion is to ensure economy in the expenditure, that is the least cost principle. Am I clear or not? Please do respond. Next, moving on to token cut motion. Alright, token cut motion. So, if you take this token cut motions, the purpose of this token cut motion, the purpose of token cut motion is to redress the grievances, right? So, the purpose of this token cut motion is to first of all ventilate any grievance, and redress these grievances, ventilate any grievances and redress the grievances, right? So, if the house has any issue, on that budget, on that demand, right? If the members of parliament, if members of Lok Sabha, if they has any issue or any grievance on a particular demand, they can open up, they can ventilate, right? Or simply they can air their grievances and redress their grievances. Ante members of parliament, Lok Sabha members ki oka demand మీద ఏదైనా డౌట్ ఉన్నప్పుడు, ఏదైనా క్లారిటీ రావాలనుకున్నప్పుడు, రైట్, ఏదైనా ఇబ్బంది ఉన్నప్పుడు ఆ ఇబ్బందుల్ని, ఆ క్లారిటీని ప్రతిదీ కూడా ఓపెన్ అప్ చేసుకోవచ్చు, వాళ్ళు అడగచ్చు. దే కెన్ టాక్, దే కెన్ what you call issue their grievances. They can issue their grievances, right? So, this is what they can do, right? The purpose of token cut motion is to bringing out all the grievances, of members of parliament, right? So, ఏ మెంబర్ అయినా సరే వాళ్ళకి ఏ డౌట్ ఉన్నా, ఒక డిమాండ్, ఒక బడ్జెట్ డిమాండ్ మీద ఏ డౌట్ ఉన్నా దాన్ని వాళ్ళు వెంటిలేట్ చేయొచ్చు, అంటే బయటికి కక్కచ్చు, రైట్? ఇంకా అంతకుమించి ఇంకెక్కువ భాష మాట్లాడలేను నేను, రైట్? దే కెన్ వెంటిలేట్ దేర్ గ్రీవియన్సెస్ అండ్ దీస్ గ్రీవియన్స్ ఆర్ రిడ్రెస్డ్. సో ఇలాంటి ఇష్యూస్ని క్లారిఫై చేయాల్సింది ఎవరు? హూ షుడ్ క్లారిఫై దీస్ ఇష్యూస్? హూ షుడ్ రిడ్రెస్ దీస్ గ్రీవియన్సెస్? Who should redress the grievances? Redressal of grievances. Who should redress these grievances? Who has the responsibility? Who has the responsibility of redressing the grievances? Who has the responsibility of redressing the grievances? Normally, who introduces the budget in the house, right? Who will introduce budget in the house? Introduction of budget, who will do it? Okay, so it is the responsibility of finance minister. It is the responsibility of finance minister. It is the responsibility of the prime minister, because prime minister is always he is the captain of the ship. Prime minister is always the captain of the ship. He has the responsibility. Prime minister has the responsibility of. It is the prime minister who has the responsibility. Normally it is finance minister. But right, prime minister being captain of the ship, he has the responsibility. He has the responsibility of redressing the grievances. He has the responsibility of redressing the grievances. All right. So this is what we should know. All right. So it is the finance minister. It is the finance minister who should redress the grievances. All right. So that is what about token cut motion. The purpose of token cut motion is to redress the grievances of members of the house. Redress the grievances of members of the house. All right. right? So these are three different types of cut motions. These are three different types of cut motions. So we have seen economy cut, policy cut motion, economy cut motion, as well as token cut motion, right? So this is the important stage. This is the important stage, right, in the passing of budget. So after voting of demands, the next stage in the passing of budget is, right, passing of appropriation bill. It is passing of appropriation bill. Passing of appropriation bill. All right. So remember, without passing appropriation bill, no money can be withdrawn. No money can be withdrawn from the exchequer. That is, no money can be withdrawn from Consolidated Fund of India. Consolidated Fund of India. Malli exam ki important stage, important issues for prelims. Consolidated Fund of India. Right. So without passing appropriation bill, right, no money can be withdrawn. No money can be withdrawn from Consolidated Fund of India. Article 265. Article 265 deals with this Consolidated Fund of India. All right. So without passing appropriation bill, all right, no money can be withdrawn from Consolidated Fund of India. All right. So this passing of appropriation bill, will allow the government, will allow the government for drawing money out of Consolidated Fund of India for its requirements. అంటే అప్రాప్రియేషన్ బిల్ పాస్ కాకుండా కన్సాలిడేటెడ్ ఫండ్ ఆఫ్ ఇండియా నుంచి ఒక్క రూపాయి కూడా తీసుకోవడానికి వీలు లేదు, వాడుకోవడానికి వీలు లేదు. అర్థమవుతుందా? అంటే గవర్నమెంట్ కెన్ డ్రా మనీ ఓన్లీ ఆఫ్టర్ పాసింగ్ అప్రాప్రియేషన్ బిల్. రైట్. సో మనం బడ్జెట్ పాస్ అంటాం కదా, రైట్. we always talk about passing of budget, right. So passing of budget technically means it is passing of appropriation bill. So before starting of the next financial year, right. So what is the financial year of India? In India, what is the financial year? What is the financial year in India? What is the financial year in India? If you take this financial year, in India, it is normally from April 1st to 31st March. It is normally from April 1st to 31st March, right. So this is our financial year. So every country has their own financial year. Every country has its own financial year. If you take France, the financial year of France is from January 1st to December 31st. All right. If you take America, it is from July 1st to June 30th. All right. So these are different financial years, and even that means the appropriation bill should be passed, right, before this 31st March. 31st March లోపు అప్రాప్రియేషన్ బిల్ పాస్ అవ్వాలి, రైట్. అలా పాస్ కాకుండా ఎక్స్చెకర్ అంటే ఏమీ లేదు. ఇట్ ఈస్ నథింగ్ బట్ కన్సాలిడేటెడ్ ఫండ్ ఆఫ్ ఇండియా. సో ఇట్ ఈస్ కన్సాలిడేటెడ్ ఫండ్ ఆఫ్ ఇండియా దట్ విల్ యాక్ట్ యాజ్ ఎక్స్చెకర్ ఆఫ్ ఇండియా. Consolidated Fund of India will act as exchequer of India. So appropriation bill pass కాకుండా ఎక్స్చెకర్ నుంచి సింగిల్ రూపీ కూడా తీసుకోవడానికి వీలు లేదు. Am I clear? Right, that is what the appropriation bill is. Right, so what is Consolidated Fund of India, I will explain later. That is after completing the entire passage of budget, I will explain what is Consolidated Fund of India, what is Contingency Fund of India, and what is Public Accounts of India. మనకు 3 ఇంపార్టెంట్ ఫండ్స్ ఉన్నాయి. ఒకటి Consolidated Fund of India, second Contingency Fund of India, third Public Accounts of India. ఎగ్జామ్కి పర్టికులర్ ప్రిలిమ్స్కి చాలా ఇంపార్టెంట్ ఏరియా. Alright, so if you take this appropriation bill, so what does this bill contains? So what is this bill about? If you take this appropriation bill contains all the items of expenditure that is voted during the voting of demand stage. So appropriation bill deals with all the items of expenditure. It deals with all the items of expenditure which are already voted during the stage of voting of demands. అంటే ఇంతలో చూసినాం మనము, అంటే ఆ పాసింగ్ ఆఫ్ అప్రాప్రియేషన్ బిల్కు ముందు ఓటింగ్ ఆఫ్ డిమాండ్స్. సో the expenditure that is voted, the items of expenditure, everything is articulated in this appropriation bill. Right, so say for example, agriculture ministry, I'm just talking about the ministry wise. Agriculture ministry 500 crores. Alright, defense ministry 20,000 crores. Alright, simply. So that means this appropriation bill contains all these details of the expenditure that is voted. Alright, that is what appropriation bill. So going by the logic, alright, whether this appropriation bill can be amended, Alright, whether appropriation bill can be amended or not. I'll come to your doubt, Shashidhar. Right, once let me complete all these things, then I'll talk about your doubt. Alright, whether this appropriation bill can be amended, అంటే ఒకసారి ఓటింగ్ జరిగిన తర్వాత, ఒకసారి ఐటమ్స్ ఆఫ్ ఎక్స్పెండిచర్ ఓటింగ్ అయిన తర్వాత అప్రాప్రియేషన్ బిల్లో మార్పులు చేసుకోవచ్చా? అసలు అప్రాప్రియేషన్ బిల్ అనేది అమెండ్ చేసుకోవచ్చా, చేంజెస్ చేసుకోవచ్చా? మీరు ఆలోచించి చెప్పండి. Alright, so remember, appropriation bill cannot be amended. Alright, that is, as the items of expenditure are already voted, there is no, that is, the amendments are not allowed, changes are not allowed in the అప్రాప్రియేషన్ బిల్. ఒక్కసారి ఓటింగ్ అయిన తర్వాత ఎలాంటి మార్పులు చేయడానికి వీల్లేదు, ఎలాంటి చేంజెస్ చేయడానికి వీల్లేదు. రైట్, సో ది అప్రాప్రియేషన్ బిల్ ఈజ్ నాట్ పుట్ ఫర్ అమెండ్మెంట్స్ ఆర్ నో చేంజెస్ కెన్ బి మేడ్ ఇన్ అప్రాప్రియేషన్ బిల్. అండ్ కమింగ్ to what you call the expenditures mentioned. Alright, the expenditures which are mentioned in appropriation bill, they are categorized into two parts. That is, there are two types of expenditures. One is called as charged upon expenditure, and the other one is called as made from expenditure. So one is charged upon expenditure and the other one is made from. Charged upon expenditure and the other one is made from expenditure. Alright, so if you take this charged upon expenditure, so it is this expenditure which is discussed but not voted. Right, this charged upon expenditure, the charged upon expenditure is discussed but not voted. Alright, charged upon expenditure is discussed but not voted. Right, whereas if you take made from expenditure, it is discussed and voted. Made from expenditure is both discussed and voted. Right, so any expenditure that is declared as charged upon, if an expenditure is declared as charged upon, it is not put for voting. Right, voting చేయాల్సిన అవసరం లేదు. ఏదైతే మేడ్ ఫ్రమ్ ఎక్స్పెండిచర్గా డిక్లేర్ చేస్తారో, ఎనీ ఎక్స్పెండిచర్ ఇస్ డిక్లేర్డ్ యాజ్ మేడ్ ఫ్రమ్ ఎక్స్పెండిచర్, ఇట్ ఈస్ పుట్ ఫర్ voting, it is voted. అంటే సింపుల్గా, సో దిస్ ఈజ్ నాన్ ఓటబుల్ ఎక్స్పెండిచర్, ఇట్ ఈస్ నాన్ ఓటబుల్ ఎక్స్పెండిచర్ అండ్ దిస్ ఈజ్ votable expenditure. So one is non votable expenditure, other one is votable expenditure. Am I clear to you? So this is what about, so this is what about, what you call the difference between charged upon expenditure and made from expenditure. So what kind of expenditures are regarded as charged upon expenditures and why they are not voted, right? సో ఎలాంటి ఎక్స్పెండిచర్స్ని మనము చార్జ్డ్ అపాన్ ఎక్స్పెండిచర్స్గా పరిగణిస్తామో, దాన్ని ఎందుకు ఓటింగ్ చేయమో ఒకసారి డిస్కస్ చేసుకుందాం, రైట్? లెట్ మీ డిస్కస్ అబౌట్ వాట్ యు కాల్ ద చార్జ్డ్ అపాన్ ఎక్స్పెండిచర్. So if you take this charged upon expenditure, so normally this charged upon expenditure deals with salaries and allowances. It is the salary, the component of salaries and allowances of all the constitutional authorities. It is the expenditure, it is the expenditure of salaries and allowances. Salaries and allowances, all right? So salaries and allowances of all the constitutional authorities, all right? So if you take these salaries and allowances of constitutional authorities, these salaries and allowances of constitutional authorities, they are determined by a law of parliament. మీరు ఏ కాన్స్టిట్యూషనల్ అథారిటీ అన్న తీసుకోండి, రైట్? మనకు సెకండ్ షెడ్యూల్ ఉంది కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్లో. ఇఫ్ టేక్ సెకండ్ షెడ్యూల్ ఆఫ్ ఇండియన్ కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్, ఇఫ్ టేక్ సెకండ్ షెడ్యూల్ ఆఫ్ ఇండియన్ కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్, the second schedule of Indian constitution, it deals with salaries and allowances of all the constitutional authorities. So remember, the salaries and allowances of different constitutional authorities are determined by a law of parliament. So it is given by a law of parliament. It is given by a law of parliament, right? So remember, it is parliament that is prescribing the salaries and allowances by law. How law is made? It is only after discussion, debate and voting. That means the salaries and allowances are already voted in the parliament. గుర్తుపెట్టుకోండి, కాన్స్టిట్యూషనల్ అథారిటీకి సంబంధించిన సాలరీస్ అండ్ అలవెన్సెస్ అది ఒక చట్టం ద్వారా నిర్ణయించబడుతుంది, రైట్? అంటే అర్థం ఏంటిది? ఆల్రెడీ దెర్ ఈస్ అ ఓటింగ్ టుక్ ప్లేస్. Once voted, already as there is a voting took place, there is no point in having voting again. There is no need to have any kind of voting. So as it is determined by a law of parliament, right? So this salaries and allowances are the charged upon expenditure is not put for voting. It is not put for voting. So there won't be voting on the charged upon expenditure. There won't be voting on charged upon expenditure. అర్థమవుతుందా? So why this charged upon expenditure is not put for voting? Because it is already voted through a law of parliament. That is the reason. Am I clear to you of why it is not voted? Am I clear to you about the charged upon expenditure? Am I clear to you about charged upon expenditure? So please do respond. All right. So next coming to made from expenditure. Made from expenditure. Made from expenditure, that is expenditure that is voted as well as discussed. That is simply expenditure other than salaries and allowances, right? So expenditure other than salaries and allowances. Salaries, allowances kaani edaina sare, it should be voted, right? It should be discussed as well as voted, right? So these are two components of particular expenditure mentioned in appropriation bill. So in appropriation bill, we have these two types of expenditures. In appropriation bill, we have these two types of expenditures. Okay, charged upon expenditure as well as made from expenditure. So one is charged upon expenditure and the other one is made from expenditure. Alright. So we are saying that the appropriation bill should be passed, right, before starting of financial year. That is, the appropriation bill should be passed by March 31st. Right. In case think that there is no appropriation bill passed, but within the given time అంటే 31st లోపు మార్చ్ 31st లోపు అప్రాప్రియేషన్ బిల్ పాస్ కాలేదనుకోండి, అప్పుడు పరిస్థితి ఏంటిది? హౌ గవర్నమెంట్ విల్ గెట్ ది బడ్జెట్, హౌ గవర్నమెంట్ విల్ మీట్ ఇట్స్ ఎక్స్పెండిచర్? ఇన్ కేస్ ఇఫ్ appropriation bill is not passed in the given time, how government will meet its expenditure? In that condition, how government can raise finances? So just now I said that without passing appropriation bill, alright, government cannot withdraw money from consolidated fund of India. Alright, so appropriation bill pass కాకుండా consolidated fund of India నుంచి డబ్బులు తీసుకోవడానికి వీలు లేదు. అసలు పాస్ కాలేదనుకుందాం, 31st లోపు అది పాస్ కాలేదనుకుందాం, అప్పుడు గవర్నమెంట్కి ఉన్న ఆప్షన్ ఏంటిది? గవర్నమెంట్ తన ఎక్స్పెండిచర్ని ఎలా మీట్ చేస్తుంది? సో హౌ ది గవర్నమెంట్ విల్ మీట్ ఇట్స్ ఎక్స్పెండిచర్? డు ఎనీ వన్ ఆఫ్ యూ హ్యావ్ ఐడియా? It is by using the instrument of vote on account. There is one instrument called as vote on account. Vote on account. Alright. So this is the instrument that is used. This is the instrument that is used by what you call government. This is the instrument that is used by government. So in case if government feels that, alright, when there is no chance of passing appropriation bill by March 31st because of any conditions, say for example during elections is the best example. So during elections we don't see, so normally in India elections are held in the month of May or June. Ultimately by June we see the new government being followed, right? So in this condition what governments will do is, instead of passing the full-fledged budget, governments will use vote on account. ఎప్పుడైతే బడ్జెట్ పాస్ కాని పక్షంలో, అది ఎప్పుడు ఉంటుందంటే ఎలక్షన్ ఇయర్లో, రైట్? ఎలక్షన్ ఇయర్లో కానీ లేదంటే ఎప్పుడైనా గవర్నమెంట్ ఈస్ ఫేసింగ్ నో కాన్ఫిడెన్స్ మోషన్. థింక్ దట్ ఇన్ ద మంత్ ఆఫ్ February or March, if there is a no confidence motion against government, even in such condition there is no chance of passing the budget. So when there is no chance of passing the budget, alright, vote on account is used. Alright, so by using this vote on account, government can withdraw 1/10 of total budget, 1/10 of total budget estimates. Alright, government can withdraw, I'm sorry, alright, it is not 1/10, it is 1/6, right? It is 1/6 of total budget estimates. I'm sorry, it is not 1/10, it is 1/6 of total budget estimates, where this amount that is raised, by vote on account, the amount that is raised by vote on account should be used within a period of 2 months. Should be used within 2 months. It means the budget or the money that is raised by using vote on account, alright, it should be utilized within 2 months. That means what? At any case, the appropriation bill should be passed within this 2 months. Alright. So This is one condition of using vote on account. So, vote on account can be used, interim budgets can be used, right. That is a time being budgets, not full fledged budget, it is for 6 months. Normally it is for 6 months, the interim budgets are passed, alright. So, this is the option of vote on account. So, vote on account is an option where the government can use it, right, in case if there is a delay in passing of appropriation bill, and by using this vote on account, the total amount of money that can be used, the total amount of money that can be raised is 1/6 of total budget, and this money should be used within a period of 2 months. It should be used within a period of 2 months, alright. So, this is vote on account, and the last stage in the passing of budget is passing of finance bills, right. It is passing of finance bills, right. So, passing of finance bills marks the end of what you call passing of budget, right. The last stage in passing of budget is passing of finance bills, right. So, this passing of finance bills marks the end of passing of budget, right. That means instead of waiting for finance bills, the government can raise budget, government can raise money by passing the appropriation bill, alright. So, these are different stages in the passing of budget. Okay. So, this is about passing of budget, alright. Take down a question on this point. Explain the procedure for passing of budget. Explain the procedure for passing of budget and how it is used as. Explain the procedure for passing of budget and how it is used as, instrument of control, how budget is used as instrument of control, alright. So, this is the question, this is one question, alright. Explain the procedure for passing of budget and how it is used as instrument of control. How it acts as instrument of control. Coming to the next question. Discuss how budget acts as instrument of socio-economic change. How budget acts as instrument of socio-economic change. How budget acts as instrument of socio-economic change. So, there are two questions. One is how budget acts as instrument of control and how budget acts as instrument of instrument of socio-economic change. So am I clear about these two questions? Am I clear about this, what you call questions? Okay then, coming to your doubts, Shashidhar, you have asked very good doubts. Let me explain your doubts. Alright. So, is there any time limit? Is there any time limit for the president to give his assent? Alright. So, after passing the budget in the house, alright, after passing the budget in the house, the budget is normally sent to president office. Alright. The budget is normally sent to president office where president has to give his assent, right? Where president has to give his assent. That is, why president should give the assent? Because the budget is introduced only on the prior recommendation of President of India. So it is the president who is recommending, who has recommended this budget. So he has an obligation of giving his assent. But in extraordinary condition, President of India can use pocket veto, right? In extraordinary condition, President of India can use pocket veto, right? So, what is that extraordinary condition where President of India can use pocket veto? If you take this extraordinary condition, it is the condition when the government is facing no confidence motion, or when the government of the day has lost its majority. ఎప్పుడైతే గవర్నమెంట్ నో కాన్ఫిడెన్స్ మోషన్ ఫేస్ చేస్తుందో లేదా గవర్నమెంట్కి మెజారిటీ పడిపోతుందో అలాంటి కండిషన్స్లో ప్రెసిడెంట్ ఆఫ్ ఇండియా సంతకం పెట్టే బదులు ఇన్స్టెడ్ ఆఫ్ గివింగ్ హిస్ అసెంట్ వాట్ హీ కెన్ డూ ఈస్ హీ కెన్ యూస్ పాకెట్ విటో పవర్. వాట్ యు మీన్ బై పాకెట్ విటో? The only veto power that is available against budget is pocket veto. So what do you mean by pocket veto? What do you mean by pocket veto? If you take this pocket veto means it is the power to withhold a bill, right? Pocket veto means it is withholding a bill. It is withholding a bill, alright? So if you take this withholding, for how many days President of India can withhold a bill? ఎన్ని రోజులు ప్రెసిడెంట్ ఈ బిల్ని బడ్జెట్ని విత్హోల్డ్ చేసుకోవచ్చు? ఏదైనా టైం లిమిట్ ఉందా? పలానా టైంలోనే సంతకం పెట్టాలి లేదా పలానా టైం వరకు విత్హోల్డ్ చేసుకోవచ్చు అన్న కండిషన్స్ ఏమైనా ఉన్నాయా మన కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్లో? ఇన్ అవర్ కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్ డూ వీ హ్యావ్ ఎనీ సచ్ కండిషన్స్? రైట్. So there is no time limit mentioned in Indian Constitution. There is no time limit mentioned in Indian Constitution. That means the President of India can withhold a bill. A President of India can withhold a bill for any amount of time. He can withhold a bill for any number of days. There is no time limit mentioned in Indian Constitution. Right? Not only for budget but for any kind of bills. There is no time limit mentioned in Indian Constitution. The President of India can withhold a bill for any number of time or for any number of days. Am I clear, Shashidhar? Whether your doubt got cleared? Alright? So I think you have not come to the class on veto powers of president. Even on money bills, that is right, in extraordinary conditions, President of India can use pocket veto even on money bills. Remember this point. Shashidhar, అర్థమైందా? మనీ బిల్ ఎగ్జామ్ట్ ఏం కాదు. రైట్, మనీ బిల్స్ మీద కూడా రైట్ పాకెట్ విటో యూస్ చేసుకోవచ్చు. అది కూడా ఎప్పుడు ఇన్ ఎక్స్ట్రాడినరీ కండిషన్స్. అదే చెప్తున్నా కదా. రైట్, ద ఓన్లీ విటో దట్ ఈస్ అవైలబుల్ అగెయిన్స్ట్ బడ్జెట్ అండ్ మనీ బిల్స్ ఈస్ right, pocket veto, and no other veto can be used. Alright, this is one doubt. And second doubt that you have asked is pass the time period for passing financial bills. Remember, the financial bills should be passed within a period of 75 days from the date of introduction of the bill. Alright, the financial bills should be passed. It should be passed within a period of 75 days from its date of introduction, because if you take these financial bills normally they deal with taxes of government, right? So even we can call them as taxation bills, right? So we have type 1 finance bills and type 2 finance bills. Normally type 1 finance bills, they deal with the taxation bills, right? So these finance bills should be passed within a period of 75 days from the date of introduction. So am I clear about your second doubt, Shashidhar? Alright, so this is about the procedure for passing of budget. This is about procedure for passing of the budget. Okay. How many of you are in front of TVs? How many of you are in front of TVs? Television. టీవీ చూస్తూ క్లాస్ వినే వాళ్ళు ఎంతమంది క్లాస్లో? So till now it is not been used, but even have explained the cases, have explained different instances where President of India has used veto powers on money bills. Previous class lo when I taught veto powers of president, I have discussed about, even I have the curiosity about this polling, అందుకనే కదా అడిగేది. సో ఎవరు లీడింగ్లో ఉన్నారు, ఎవరు సెంటర్లో, స్టేట్లో, రైట్? బికాస్ ఐఎమ్ నాట్ ఇన్ ఫ్రంట్ ఆఫ్ టీవీ. దట్ ఈస్ ద రీజన్ ఐ వాంట్ టు నో. Alright, so I want to ask, I want to know about one thing. Should I stop classes on YouTube? Or should I continue the class on YouTube? There are two things. One is using YouTube and the other one using the app. For polity, already we are using app for both IR class as well as optional. And coming to this polity, should I use YouTube or what you call app? So based upon your opinion, I will continue the class. So by the end of the class, just give me your opinion. Alright. So this is about what you call passing of budget. So next, let me talk about passing of money bills. Alright, let me talk about passing of money bills. Passing of money bills which are mentioned in Article 110. Alright, so coming to the certification of bill, whether a bill is a money bill or a ordinary bill or a finance bill, right? It is a decision of speaker. Right? Which deals with the nature of bill. So Speaker of Lok Sabha, it is Speaker of Lok Sabha who has the final power to certify the bill. Speaker of Lok Sabha has the final power to certify the nature of bill, right? So if a bill is declared as a money bill, if a bill is declared as a money bill, then it should follow the procedure mentioned in article 110. So money bill is a bill which solely deals with the provisions of article 110, right? According to article 110, any bill that solely deals with provisions of article 110, provisions of article 110 will be called as, any bill that solely deals with the provisions of article 110 will be called as money bills. They are called as money bills, right? సో ఖచ్చితంగా ఆర్టికల్ 110లో ఉన్న ప్రొవిజన్స్ గురించి మాత్రమే ఆ బిల్ మాట్లాడాలి. అంటే ఆ బిల్ అంటే ఎనీ బిల్ విచ్ ఓన్లీ కంటైన్స్ ద ప్రొవిజన్స్ ఆఫ్ ఆర్టికల్ 110, అంటే ఆర్టికల్ 110 సంబంధించిన ప్రొవిజన్స్ మాత్రమే ఉంటేనే అది మనీ బిల్ అనబడుతుంది, రైట్? దట్ ఈస్ వాట్ ఆర్టికల్ 110 ఈస్. That is article 110 is. Alright. So if it contains any other provision, that is not only the provisions of article 110, if it contains any other provision, then such a bill will be treated as financial bill of type 1. Any bill that only contains provisions of article 110, it is money bill, and if it contains any other provisions, it will be regarded as financial bills of type 1. They are regarded as type 1 financial bills, alright? So that is article 110, what you call difference between money bill and financial bills, alright? Money bills and financial bills, alright? So this is about money bills, right? So what does this article 110 deals with? Alright, what does this article 110 deals with? Alright, it deals with taxes, right? Imposition of tax, remission of tax, altering the taxes, alright? So it contains provisions of taxation. It deals with custody of consolidated fund of India, contingency fund of India, and public accounts of India. It deals with custody of contingency fund, consolidated fund of India, and public accounts of India. It deals with, right, appropriation of money both from consolidated fund of India as well as what you call public accounts of India. That is appropriation of money or withdrawal of money, right? At the same time, it also deals with right, if you take this article 110, alright, it also deals with custody of appropriation of money out of contingency fund of India, alright? So and President of India has every power, alright, to determine any provision as a part of article 110. That is, President of India can add any other provision to article 110, right? So this is what about article 110. So it deals with taxes, consolidated fund of India, contingency fund of India, that is custody of consolidated fund, contingency fund, public accounts of India, withdrawal of money from consolidated fund, contingency fund, as well as public accounts of India, alright? Then any other matter that can be added to article 110 by President of India. So if you take the procedure for passing the money bills, so these money bills are introduced only in Lok Sabha. That too on the prior recommendation of President of India. The money bills are introduced in Lok Sabha on the prior recommendation of President of India. So without President of India, a money bill cannot be introduced, right? A money bill cannot be introduced, right? So this is the point is, all right? It is introduced. It is introduced only in Lok Sabha on the prior recommendation of President of India, all right? Now there will be a general discussion, right? And general discussion, debate, that is detailed discussion, and then voting, all right? So general discussion, debate and voting, all right? So this is article 110 is this is the first step. So introduction of money bills, general discussion, debate and voting, and the majority that is required to pass a money bill, the majority that is required to pass a money bill is special majority. It requires a special majority, all right? So money bills are passed by special majority, all right? They are passed by special majority. This special majority here means 2/3 of members present and voting. Special majority means 2/3 of members present and voting, such that 50% are present, in the house, right? So if you take this, what you call majority that is required to pass a money bill, if you take the majority that is required to pass a money bill, it requires a majority of 2/3 of members present and voting, such that 50% are present in the house, right? So this is about the majority that is required in Lok Sabha. Remember, the money bills are introduced only in Lok Sabha, that too on the prior recommendation of members, right? That too on the prior recommendation of President of India, and it should be passed by special majority, that is a majority of 2/3 of members present and voting, such that 50% are present in the house, right? So after passing in Lok Sabha, it will be sent to Rajya Sabha. After passing in Lok Sabha, it will be sent to Rajya Sabha, right? Now if you take this role of Rajya Sabha, so if a question is to be lifted in prelims, if a question is to be asked in prelims, so this is where you can expect a question. So normally money bill is again important for prelims exam, right? The procedure for passing the money bills in parliament in Lok Sabha is important for prelims exam. So let me talk about this role of Rajya Sabha, all right? So if you take role of Rajya Sabha with respect to money bills, all right? So the Rajya Sabha can accept a money bill. It can accept a money bill, all right? The Rajya Sabha cannot reject a money bill. Rajya Sabha can propose amendments. Or Rajya Sabha can withhold a bill. A money bill, right? So these are different outcomes, or these are different options in Rajya Sabha, right? These are different options in Rajya Sabha. It can accept a bill. If Rajya Sabha accepts the bill, what happens? The bill is deemed to be passed by both the houses. If Rajya Sabha accepts the bill, then the bill is deemed to be passed. By both the houses. The bill is due to be passed by both the houses with special majority. The bill is due to be passed in both the houses and will be sent to President of India. For his assent. Right? It has no option of rejecting. What it can do? It can propose amendments. That means Rajya Sabha on its own cannot make amendments. Rajya Sabha on its own cannot amend money bills. So money bill cannot be amended by Rajya Sabha, right? But it can propose amendments. So the proposal of Rajya Sabha, that is the amendments proposed by Rajya Sabha, who should do it? Who should, what you call, right? Who should bring the amendments? The amendments proposed by the amendments proposed by Rajya Sabha, they should be amended by Lok Sabha. Only Lok Sabha has the power to amend the money bills. గుర్తుపెట్టుకోండి, రాజ్యసభ అమెండ్మెంట్స్ మాత్రమే ప్రపోజ్ చేయగలదు. రాజ్యసభ అమెండ్మెంట్స్ మాత్రమే ప్రపోజ్ చేయగలదు. ఓకేనా? అమెండ్ చేసే పవర్, అమెండ్ చేసే బాధ్యత లోక్సభకు మాత్రమే ఉంటుంది. సో మనీ బిల్స్ మీద పూర్తి అధికారము లోక్సభకే ఉంటుంది. రైట్? సో రాజ్యసభ హ్యాస్ a very limited powers. Rajya has a very limited powers with respect to money bills. It can only propose amendments. It cannot directly amend the bill. Alright. Third condition is, alright, it can withhold a bill. Rajya Sabha can withhold a bill. But for how many days the Rajya Sabha can withhold a bill? So in case of withholding a bill, after the expiry of 14 days, after the expiry of 14 days, right, the Rajya Sabha, the bill is deemed to be passed. The bill is deemed to be passed as passed by Lok Sabha. After the expiry of 14 days, the bill is deemed to be passed. The bill is deemed to be passed as passed by Lok Sabha. Alright, that means what? Technically, Rajya Sabha can withhold a money bill for 14 days, maximum of 14 days. So after the expiry of 14 days, right, there won't be any such withholding. The bill is deemed to be passed. The bill is deemed to be passed. Alright. So this is what the role of Rajya Sabha with respect to money bills. Right. Now, what is the role of President with respect to money bills? Whenever a money bill after getting passed in Parliament will be sent to President for his assent. So President is bound to give his signature. President is bound to give assent, but in extraordinary conditions. Right? President of India can use pocket veto power. Right? President of India can use pocket veto power. That is, in extraordinary conditions, President of India can use pocket veto. So this is the role of President. So the only condition where President of India can use pocket veto is, that is, whenever the government of the day, right, fails to prove its majority. ఎప్పుడైతే గవర్నమెంట్ తన మెజారిటీని ప్రూవ్ చేసుకోదో, లేదా ఎప్పుడైతే నో కాన్ఫిడెన్స్ మోషన్ పెండింగ్లో ఉంటుందో, అలాంటప్పుడు ప్రెసిడెంట్ ఆఫ్ ఇండియా ఇన్స్టెడ్ ఆఫ్ గివింగ్ హిస్ అసెంట్, he should wait till the government has majority or till the government proves its majority. సో గవర్నమెంట్ మెజారిటీని ప్రూవ్ చేసుకునేంత వరకు ప్రెసిడెంట్ ఆఫ్ ఇండియా తొందరపడకుండా సైన్ పెట్టకూడదు. He can withhold his sign, that is, he can use pocket veto. Alright. So this is about what you call role of President. This is about role of President with respect to money bills. Alright. Now coming to the doubts raised, if is finance bill independent of money bill or a part of or a subgroup of money bill? Alright. So money bills and finance bills are different. There is no subgrouping mentioned in Constitution. In Article 110, there is no subgrouping mentioned. Alright. But if you take the finance bills, so finance bills are similar to money bills, but not the money bills. So Article 110 deals with money bills, Article 117 deals with financial bills. Right. So both type 1 as well as type 2 financial bills. Right. is whether the money bill like any other ordinary bill? No. Finance bills are like ordinary bills, not money bills. It is not money bills which are like, right? The question that is raised is whether money bill like any other ordinary bill is gazetted or not. Whether money bills are gazetted or not. Okay, you are asking about mentioning in the gazetted, right? So remember, every bill that is introduced, right, by President of India, the bills which are introduced on the prior recommendation of President, they are mentioned in the gazette, right? So if you take about gazetting of the bill, that is the bills which are gazetted, so only those bills which are introduced on the prior recommendation of President, they are gazetted, right? Not all the ordinary bills. Don't think that all the ordinary bills are gazetted. Only those bills which are introduced on the prior recommendation of President are gazetted. Whether it is a bill introduced by government, so normally the bills which are introduced by government or member of or on the recommendation of President, they are gazetted. Am I clear to you? Right. Good to see all these kind of doubts. Nizangane, I am really happy with these kind of doubts because I feel that there are quality students in the class. Alright. So this is about passing of money bills. Only same question. Alright. Discuss the procedure for passing of finance money bills. Discuss the procedure for passing of money bills and what is the recent controversy on Aadhaar bill. What is the recent controversy on Aadhaar bill? మీకు వింత చెప్పాలా? ఎంత పెద్ద వింత అంటే ఒక పెద్ద వింత జరిగింది. ఆధార్ బిల్ 2017లో దిస్ ఆధార్ బిల్ వాజ్ పాస్డ్ యాజ్ మనీ బిల్స్. పెద్ద వింత ఇండియాలో. వాట్ ఈస్ అ మనీ బిల్? ఎనీ బిల్ విచ్ డీల్స్ ఓన్లీ విత్ ద ప్రొవిజన్స్ ఆఫ్ ఆర్టికల్ 110 ఈజ్ రిగార్డ్ యాజ్ మనీ బిల్స్. బట్ ఇఫ్ టేక్ ఆధార్ బిల్ ఈజ్ పాస్డ్ యాజ్ మనీ బిల్ and Supreme Court cannot interfere with the decision of Speaker. Speaker has certified Aadhaar bill as a money bill and it is passed in the Parliament. And this was challenged in Supreme Court. Supreme Court said that it can't do anything. In this Aadhaar case, Supreme Court said that it can't do anything because the decision of Speaker is final. Kapote Supreme Court opined. Supreme Court has given its opinion that the legislature should stick to the constitution, particularly the chairs of the house, right? The chairs of the house, they are the guardian of the house and they are the one who interprets the constitution. So there should be a right interpretation of constitution within the house. అసలు ఆధార్ బిల్ మనీ బిల్ లాగా పాస్ అవుతుందా? పాస్ చేయొచ్చునా? కానీ పాస్ చేసిన ఇండియాలో. ఇది పెద్ద వింత. దీనికి సుప్రీంకోర్టు కూడా ఏం చేయలేకపోయింది. ఎందుకంటే మనకున్నది ఏంటిది? సుప్రీంకోర్టు షుడ్ నాట్ ఇంటర్ఫియర్ విత్ ది వర్కింగ్ ఆఫ్ లెజిస్లేచర్, పర్టికులర్లీ ద డెసిషన్స్ ఆఫ్ స్పీకర్. కానీ తర్వాత అంటే ఇదే కేసులో సుప్రీంకోర్టు ఒక ఒపీనియన్ ఇచ్చింది. ఏంటి ఒపీనియన్ అంటే, రైట్, రెండు హౌజెస్లో అంటే ఇన్ బోత్ ద హౌస్ ఆఫ్ పార్లమెంట్ కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్ షుడ్ బి కరెక్ట్లీ ఇంప్లిమెంటెడ్, ఇట్ షుడ్ బి కరెక్ట్లీ ఇంటర్ప్రిటెడ్. సో కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్ని ఇంటర్ప్రిట్ చేయాల్సిన బాధ్యత ఎవరిది? Who should have a right interpretation of constitution? Yes, it was Justice Chandrachud who has given this opinion. Alright. Normally it is Supreme Court which has the which is the interpreter of constitution, but within the house, within the four walls of the house, who has the responsibility of interpreting the constitution? Who has the responsibility of protecting the constitution? That's your responsibility. The chair of the house. Chair of the house should follow the constitution. Chair a constitution follow ganappudu, then what is the purpose of having the chair? When legislature fails to act, right, then there is no fail to act according to constitution, the sanctity of legislature will be lost. Legislature మీద నమ్మకం పోతుంది. ఇదే క్వశ్చను యూపీఎస్సీలో మీకు జిఎస్లో అడిగిండో పబ్బాడ్లో అడిగిన క్వశ్చన్, సేమ్ క్వశ్చన్ వచ్చిండు. 22లో ఇట్ వాజ్ ఆస్డ్ ఇన్ జిఎస్, 23లో ఇట్ వాజ్ ఆస్డ్ ఇన్ పబ్లిక్ అడ్మినిస్ట్రేషన్. రైట్. సో ఇట్ ఈస్ అ చైర్. ఎందుకంటే ఆధార్ బిల్ మనీ బిల్గా పాస్ చేయడం అన్నది ఒక దరిద్రమైన ప్రాక్టీస్. అది ఆధార్ బిల్ని మనీ బిల్ అని సర్టిఫికేట్ చేయడమే ఒక దరిద్రమైన ప్రాక్టీస్. ఇట్ ఈస్ టోటల్ వయలేషన్ ఆఫ్ కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్. బట్ సో దిస్ ఈజ్ మనకు రైట్ టు ప్రైవసీ కేసు, ఆధార్ కేసు రెండు ఒకసారి వచ్చినాయి. The judgments in on right to privacy, Aadhaar case, all they were at the same point of time. Alright. So this is about passing of finance bills, money bills. So before going to finance bills, let me talk about different types of grants. Different types of grants which are given by Parliament to the executive. Right. So there are different grants apart from budget. అసలు అక్కడే చెప్పాల్సింది మర్చిపోయినా. Apart from budget, right, the legislature can provide different types of grants. The legislature can provide different types of grants to the executive. Different grants can be given to the executive. All right. So what are these different grants? Let us have a look over these different types of grants. Supplementary grants. Additional grants, excess grants, vote of credit, token grants, right? So these are different types of grants which are given to the government, in case when there is a shortfall, in the budgets. That is when the budgets are inadequate, or the budget that is granted to government is not sufficient, then these types of grants are given. So each grant has its own purpose. Every grant has their own purpose. Alright. Supplementary grants, additional grants, excess grants, vote of credit. Alright. So if you take these supplementary grants are given. The supplementary grants are given, alright, to those items of expenditure. Supplementary grants are given to those items of expenditure. Alright. Where the budget sanctioned, right, is inadequate. That is when the budgetary grants are inadequate, right, when there is insufficiency or inadequacy of the budgetary grants. అంటే గవర్నమెంట్కి ఇచ్చిన మినిస్ట్రీకో కానీ లేదంటే డిపార్ట్మెంట్కు కానీ ఎప్పుడైనా సరే వెన్ ద బడ్జెటరీ గ్రాంట్స్ ఫౌండ్ టు బి ఇన్సఫిషియంట్, ఎప్పుడైనా గవర్నమెంట్ హలో మీ క్లాస్లో ఉన్నామా, మళ్ళీ కాల్ చేస్తారా 11 o'clockకి? సో ఎప్పుడైనా గవర్నమెంట్కి శాంక్షన్ చేసిన బడ్జెట్ సరిపోనప్పుడు సే ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్, చిన్న ఎగ్జాంపుల్ చెప్తాను మీకు. ఇలా కాల్స్ వస్తే డిస్టర్బ్ అవుతుంది నాకు. రైట్. సో in case when there is what you call insufficiency or inadequacy. Say I'll take one example. Think that the price of a product is 115 rupees. Alright, the price of the product is 150 rupees, right? And the budget that is sanctioned to government is 100 rupees, right? The budget that is sanctioned to government is 100 rupees. Alright, ante whether this 100 rupees is sufficient for the government to purchase that item of expenditure, whether this 100 rupees is sufficient for the government to purchase the item of expenditure. బడ్జెట్లో శాంక్షన్ చేసిన 100 రూపాయలు సరిపోతుందా లేదా? లేదు. రైట్, సో దిస్ 100 రూపీస్ ఇస్ నాట్ సఫిషియంట్. అప్పుడు ఏం చేయాలి? ఇట్ రిక్వైర్స్ అనదర్ 15 రూపీస్, రైట్? ఇట్ రిక్వైర్స్ అనదర్ 15 రూపీస్. సో అనదర్ 15 రూపీస్ ఆర్ రిక్వైర్డ్. సో ఇఫ్ టేక్ దిస్ 15 రూపీస్, so these 15 rupees either it can be borrowed from the markets or from anywhere, or government should wait until these supplementary grants are passed. Right? So there are two ways. One is borrowing, or second one is it should wait until supplementary grants are passed. So these are two different ways. Of passing the budget. Okay, all right. So one is not having, one is borrowings, another one is supplementary grants. All right. So supplementary grants are granted when there is insufficiency or when there is inadequacy of the budget that is granted to the government. Right. So this is the condition. Alright, so am I clear about supplementary grants? So before going to additional grants, so am I clear about the supplementary grants? Okay. Now if you take additional grants, right? So additional grants are given, right? Coming to additional grants, additional grants are given to those items of expenditure which are not originally mentioned in the budget. These additional grants are given to those items of expenditure, to those demands which are not originally mentioned, in budget. So those expenditures are those demands which are not mentioned in budget, but the need has arisen, the need for that item, the need for the demand has come out. So whenever there is a need for that item of expenditure in the given financial year, right? అంటే ఒక ఐటమ్ ఆఫ్ ఎక్స్పెండిచర్ ఏదో ఒక డిమాండ్ బడ్జెట్లో మెన్షన్ చేయలేదు, కానీ ఆ ఫైనాన్షియల్ ఇయర్లో అది తప్పనిసరి అవసరం వచ్చిందనుకోండి. మరి అలాంటప్పుడు హౌ టు పర్చేస్ దట్ డిమాండ్ ఆర్ హౌ టు మీట్ ద రిక్వైర్మెంట్ ఫర్ ద డిమాండ్. సో ఇట్ ఈస్ ఇన్ దట్ కండిషన్ additional grants are granted. The purpose of additional grants are to meet the expenditures. The purpose of additional grants, it is to meet the expenditures on those items which are not originally mentioned in the budget, but there was a need for that item in the financial year. ఆ ఫైనాన్షియల్ ఇయర్లో తప్పనిసరి అవసరం వచ్చినప్పుడు, రైట్, అడిషనల్ గ్రాంట్స్ యూజ్ చేసుకొని, బై యూజింగ్ దీస్ అడిషనల్ గ్రాంట్స్, రైట్, దిస్ what you call right, these items can be procured or these demands can be met, right? That is the purpose of additional grants, right? So the difference between supplementary grants and additional grants is supplementary grants for those items of expenditure where the budget sanction is inadequate, whereas additional expenditure or additional grants, it is given to those items of expenditure which are not mentioned in the budget but which have become essential in the financial year, right? So this is the basic difference between supplementary grants and additional grants, right? And coming to excess grants, right? So excess grants are given by Parliament, or excess grants are sanctioned by Parliament only after recommendation by PAC. So without Public Accounts Committee recommending, right? So if you take this excess grants, they are granted only if PAC recommends it, only if Public Accounts Committee recommends it, alright. So without recommendation by PAC recommend cheyakunda, without PAC recommendation, no excess grants can be granted, right? So excess grants are given only on the recommendations of PAC, right? So if you take the working of PAC, so PAC will question the government for going for excess expenditures. So these excess grants are given when the government goes for excess expenditure. అంటే గవర్నమెంట్ తనకి ఇచ్చిన బడ్జెట్ కాకుండా, రైట్, ఇంకా అదనంగా ఏదైనా అప్పు చేసి ఎక్స్పెండిచర్ని అప్పు చేసినప్పుడు, ఆర్ వెన్ గవర్నమెంట్ గోస్ ఫర్ బారోయింగ్స్, జస్ట్ నౌ వి హావ్ సీన్ ఎ కేస్, రైట్, ఇఫ్ గవర్నమెంట్ గోస్ ఫర్ బారోయింగ్స్ ఫర్ మీటింగ్ ఇట్స్ ఎక్స్పెండిచర్, అంటే తన అవసరాలని అప్పుల ద్వారా సర్దుకున్నప్పుడు మరి అప్పు తిరిగి కట్టాలి కదా, రైట్? గవర్నమెంట్ షుడ్ రీపే ది బారోయింగ్స్. ఇట్ ఈస్ అన్ ఆబ్లిగేషన్ ఆఫ్ ద గవర్నమెంట్. So if it is not repaid, it will become a debt burden. Whenever government goes for borrowings, అప్పు తీసుకున్నప్పుడు ఏమవుతుంది? అప్పు బర్డెన్ ఉంటుందా ఉండదా? So to resolve this, to remove this burden, what is required is it need to be repaid. So government should repay this what you call debts. Government should repay this debt, alright? So it can be for anything. It can be for any kind of service. It can be for anything. It can be for investments, or it can be for debt repayments, or it can be used for repayment of any kind of loans, right? It can be for anything. అప్పు అన్నది దేనికోసమైనా వాడుకోవచ్చు, అది గవర్నమెంట్ ఇష్టం. రకరకాల చాలా ఉంటాయి, ప్రొడక్టివ్ ఎక్స్పెండిచర్స్ ఉంటాయి, అన్ప్రొడక్టివ్ ఎక్స్పెండిచర్స్ ఉంటాయి, అది గవర్నమెంట్ ఇష్టం, అది మనకు తర్వాత ఇష్యూ. బట్ యాజ్ ఆఫ్ నౌ గవర్నమెంట్ కెన్ గో ఫర్ బారోయింగ్స్ వెన్ ఎవర్ దెర్ ఈస్ షార్ట్ ఫాల్ ఇన్ ది బడ్జెట్ సరిపోయినప్పుడు ఏమవుతుంది? అప్పులు చేయాల్సి వస్తుంది, రైట్? సో గవర్నమెంట్, వెన్ ఎవర్ గవర్నమెంట్ బారోస్, సో గవర్నమెంట్ హ్యాస్ ఎ రెస్పాన్సిబిలిటీ, గవర్నమెంట్ హ్యాస్ అన్ ఆబ్లిగేషన్ ఫర్ repaying it. So repaying of debt is very important. So now how this repayment will be done? How these debts are repaid? So these debts are repaid by using excess grants. The purpose of giving these excess grants is to repay all the debts or to repay the borrowings made by government. But before giving these grants, there will be a questioning. There will be a questioning by Parliament, and this questioning will be done by whom? PAC. PAC will examine all these kind of borrowings. PAC questions the government, right? PAC prepares a report of the entire questioning. This report is sent to Parliament, right? In the Parliament there will be debate on this report of PAC, and unless PAC recommends, no excess grants are given to government. So PAC recommend చేస్తేనే ఎక్సెస్ గ్రాంట్స్ అన్నది ఇవ్వడం జరుగుతుంది. సో రిమెంబర్, ఎవ్రీ సచ్ గ్రాంట్ ఈస్ గివెన్ బై ఓటింగ్. సో వితౌట్ ఓటింగ్ దేర్ వోంట్ బి ఎనీ కైండ్ ఆఫ్ ఎక్సెస్ గ్రాంట్స్. వితౌట్ ఓటింగ్ దేర్ వోంట్ బి ఎనీ కైండ్ ఆఫ్ ఎనీ గ్రాంట్స్. సో నో గ్రాంట్ ఈస్ గివెన్ వితౌట్ ఓటింగ్. ఏ గ్రాంట్ ఇవ్వాలన్నా సరే, అది మీరు సప్లిమెంటరీ గ్రాంట్ కానివ్వండి, అడిషనల్ గ్రాంట్స్ కానివ్వండి, ఓట్ ఆన్ ఎక్సెస్ గ్రాంట్స్ కానివ్వండి, ఏదైనా సరే హౌస్లో డిబేట్ జరగాల్సిందే, ఓటింగ్ జరగాల్సిందే, రైట్? ఓటింగ్ లేకుండా ఏ గ్రాంట్ ఇవ్వడం జరగదు, రైట్? సో దిస్ ఈస్ యూ షుడ్ నో. నౌ vote of credit. So vote of credit is also called as a blank check that is given to government. if I take this vote of credit, it is regarded as, vote of credit is regarded as a blank check. It is regarded as a blank check given to the government. Alright. So it is regarded as a blank check given to the government. Alright. That means whenever government faces any kind of unforeseen situations, whenever a government faces any kind of contingent situations, alright, contingent situations or unforeseen situations, any kind of unforeseen situations, right? So whenever government faces any kind of unforeseen situations, right, it is in these conditions, right, the government is given this blank check, right? It is a blank check given to the government to meet any kind of unforeseen conditions, any kind of thing, right? So any kind of say disasters or anything, right, or war. Even when there is a war, there is a blank check to the government. But here, though the government has the power, blank check వాడుకోవచ్చు, blank check అన్నది గవర్నమెంట్ అవైలబుల్ ఉంటుంది, గవర్నమెంట్ దాన్ని వాడుకోవచ్చు. కానీ వాడుకున్న తర్వాత గవర్నమెంట్ ప్రతిదానికి సమాధానం చెప్పాలి. గవర్నమెంట్ సమాధానం చెప్పాల్సిన అవసరం ఉంది అని చెప్పాల్సిందే. అంటే గవర్నమెంట్ ఎవరికి సమాధానం చెప్పాలి? ఇట్ ఈస్ టు ది పార్లమెంట్, రైట్? సో even though the government is given this blank check, government has to answer what you call the kind of situations. Government has to answer the situations that has forced to use this blank check, right? So parliament has every power to question the government regarding usage of this blank check, alright? So there won't be any usage of money. The government cannot use money, alright, without being questioned by parliament, So parliamentary questioning is a part and parcel of passing of budgets or passing of all these grants. క్వశ్చన్ చేయకుండా ఏ ఒక్క రూపాయి కూడా ఇవ్వదు. అర్థమైందిగా? అందుకనే వి కాల్ ఆల్ దీస్ ఇన్స్ట్రుమెంట్స్ యాజ్ ఇన్స్ట్రుమెంట్స్ ఆఫ్ ఫైనాన్షియల్ కంట్రోల్. దీస్ ఆర్ డిఫరెంట్ ఇన్స్ట్రుమెంట్స్ ఆఫ్ ఫైనాన్షియల్ కంట్రోల్. ఆల్రైట్. సో take down a question in this regard. Explain different instruments of financial controls. Different instruments of financial controls exercised by parliament. Different instruments of financial controls exercised by parliament, and comment on their effectiveness, Explain different instruments of financial control. Explain different instruments of financial controls exercised by parliament, and comment on the financial, and comment on the effectiveness of, these financial controls, Okay, so this is what for today's class. All right, this is what for today's class. In tomorrow's class, mostly I'll complete what you call the parliamentary committees, At the same time, even I will talk about passing of ordinary bills. Alright. So what we have discussed today is, we started our class with what you call passing of budget, the procedures for passing of budget. We have seen the entire procedure. Then we have seen passing of money bills. Alright. Now we have seen passing of different types of grants. Right. So this is what our class for today. So the one who are interested to take public administration, they can just call me to our institution number, that is 9160571483, and you can join the class, and it will be on the app. And coming to IR class, the IR class will be at 2:30 on the app. Right. So do join the class. Thank you. Yes, you are correct. You can say that, right? All these grants are regulated by the same procedure of budget. Alright, Shashdar, you are right. Okay then.